Powerhouse, presented by Alliant Energy.
Alliant Energy, we're on for you.
Wow, Bob, you would never guess that there was a natural disaster here at this home. They've done a great job rebuilding.
Looks great.
Tell us about the things that they've done to make this home more energy efficient.
Well, we replaced some insulation. As you know, there was water damage in the home, and so we had to kind of start from the ground up, literally. And in the process, we replaced insulation. We also put in new heating and cooling equipment, and also did some other things to tighten up the home as much as we could to make sure that we're not exchanging air between inside and outside and getting drafty and uncomfortable rooms.
Now, I know the heating and cooling system was obviously one of the big things that you had to replace. For a system like that, how do you test and ensure that it's running at its peak performance once it's installed?
That's a really good point. Typical testing in terms of verifying that you're kind of getting what you pay for, so to speak, doesn't generally look at the entire system. And so we go through a testing process that basically looks not only at the piece of equipment that was purchased, but how well is it functioning with the rest of the system. Instead of just looking at the equipment only, we look at the duct system and we make sure that the airflow and the temperature and all the things that go into making the system work are all functioning the way that they're supposed to.
And how do you do that?
We actually start with a very basic test called static pressure, and just like a doctor will check your blood pressure to kind of get an overall assessment of your health, we do the same thing with your heating and cooling system, and we look at the static pressure to see how much pressure is the system under and is it appropriate, and that translates into, are we able to deliver the airflow that we need to deliver to make the home comfortable. So that's one part of it, and then we, just like the doctor also checks your temperature, we check the temperature and make sure that we're actually getting the air to be the temperature that we want it to be as it moves through the system. If those things work properly, then we have a much higher chance of overall delivering our heating and cooling efficiently throughout the home.
Can you take us step by step through one of your tests?
Sure,
today?
absolutely. First, what we would do is we would actually look and with the unit running, we would measure the static pressure that is on both sides of the blower, and you can see we have a little tip here that measures static pressure on one side, and then we have a gauge that tells us what that is. And so we start with that, and that lets us know right off the bat if we have proper airflow or if we don't. And then as we move away from that, we start to look at things in the home like air infiltration, and we use other equipment to actually measure that.
What kind of equipment do you use?
It's a big red door. We replace your front door. It's called a blower door, and it actually puts the house under a negative pressure. And what that means is it's kind of like a vacuum. It's like a 20-mile-an-hour wind hitting the house at all different sides at the same time. That allows us to walk around while that fan is running and see all the different places, little cracks and crevices that air might be actually moving from outside to inside, because we would really like to keep the air we pay to condition inside the home and the air that we don't want in the house outside of the house.
Thanks, Bob. This is great information.
Thank you.
You be sure to talk with your utility companies too, because they can offer great rebates if you're rebuilding energy efficiently.